Well. Hello, Atlanta sports fans and shana na. Hey, goodbye. Arthur Smith was let go by the Atlanta Falcons just after midnight. We all woke up to a pleasant surprise, unless you were awake at midnight, which I was not. And I'll tell you now, I apologize if it's echoey at all in here or if the sound is wonky because all the acoustic foam is down. And if you have a solution, if any of you out there have ever done any podcasting or studio work and put up foam, the little adhesive things, if you know how to get those off, because it's damn near impossible to get these things off. We've been scraping and cutting all day, and there's still so many of them up, and we can't figure out how to get them off. But I digress, because we're not here to talk about drywall and paint. We're here to talk about the Atlanta Falcons and what transpired. If you saw the live stream last night, you would know we asked the question, what's next for Arthur Smith and the Atlanta Falcons? Because we weren't sure what was going to go down, but he was in fact let go. You never want to see that, but at the end of the day, he just didn't get the results we needed. He didn't get the results Arthur Blank needed. It is said that he, formed a great culture. His players enjoyed it, but the on-field results just weren't there. Like I said last night, 3 seasons, 7-10, 7-10, 7-10. So again, we move on, we move forward. We wish Arthur Smith all the best, all the luck in the world, wherever he may land, whatever he may do. I'm sure he's going to get picked up by another franchise. Maybe he goes back to the college ranks. That's been known to happen. But I just want to give you a quick reminder to anybody, if you're just now tuning in, you didn't catch the content we put out over the weekend. New show. It's still Believe in Atlanta Sports, but we're moving forward from the home studio I'm building here. Again, because of the background, we're just kind of hiding things. We're going to have the big reveal lighting so you don't see this thing. And, just a new year, getting things spun up a little differently and making it a little easier to get the content out, a little easier to do this thing, shorter, tighter episodes, all that. But again, you can find us and please contact us. I want to know what you want to hear about. When you look at the big time, Atlanta sports talk shows, they don't ask you what you want to hear. They don't ask you what you want to talk about. What they do is just put out content. They have kind of a script or a program for the show, and you listen. Me, hey, hit me up. Get on the live stream. Get in the chat. Hit us up at believeatl66@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, believeinaTL66. Let's talk. I'm doing this. Well, it's fun to do first and foremost, but I'm learning. I'm hoping to make a nickel off this thing one day. And again, I'm only in year 2, and it takes a while to get this thing going. But this is a fan show for fans by fans. I want to get you on and talk. Again, I've got some great equipment coming in that's going to improve this whole thing, the studio, the sound, all of it. Some of it's on back order. But I really want to dig in and engage and connect with you guys and see what we can do about, again, my message, my mantra, bringing this fan base a little closer together and closing that gap, closing that divide. And one comment I do want to make, listen, if I post anything, it's not that I think I'm the first to do it. It's not breaking news. I'm not some of these guys you see on Twitter that, 10 hours later, breaking. No, I posted something this morning about that what is official that Arthur Smith was gone. And I got a rather snarky comment that said I was 9 hours late. And I was like, well, no kidding. I was asleep. Some of us are just waking up. So if I post something, it's really, hey, in case you missed it, in case you haven't heard, if you've been out on the road, you hadn't been near your phone or a radio or anything, this is what happened. In fact, last night we talked about, is Arthur Smith going to be fired? Will he be let go by the Atlanta Falcons? We talked about some coaching choices, but we'll get a little deeper in that in a minute. But yeah, it happened. So I woke up this morning and alerted the masses. And a lot of you probably got up before me. I got up around 7:05 this morning and woke up to the thing on my text, the alert on my phone. That's the best part of this show. You can turn on and laugh and watch me act like a clown and embarrass myself live on YouTube. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that? So what's next? What's next for the Atlanta Falcons? Now, I took some time before I got on tonight just to see if I could get anything about the press conference that was held at 4 o'clock today. I know at 4 o'clock today, Arthur Blank and Rich McKay spoke to the media, kind of just laying things out. I don't know what was said. I was at work at my IT job. I'm trying to figure that out. But obviously, if I'm putting myself in the room, reporters are asking, who's on your short list? Who you looking at for QB? What's the plan moving forward? Have you already begun the process? I know on Twitter and social media today, when I had breaks in the action at work, a lot of people were upset that Arthur and Rich, it seemed like, were going to be doing the heavy lifting when finding a coach, and Terry would have input. I think he'll have a pretty fair amount of input. I don't think it's going to be Arthur and Rich kind of telling him, "Hey, here's what's going to go happen." I think he'll have just as much input as anyone else. But we'll see. That being said, the Falcons need a new head coach. Who you got? I said last night on Twitter, I posted out, who's your man, next man up, who you got? Let's just go through a real short list real quick. Now, the first one I'm going to bring out, who knows, because he's brought up every year. Every year after the season, he says he's not leaving. Then he does some interviews. Then he comes back. And, of course, we're talking about none other than Mr. Harbaugh up there at Michigan, or maybe another college coach. I don't know. Again, because I'm not on the inside. Only the Atlanta Falcons and those three gentlemen and maybe a select few other people kind of know what might be going through their head. There's a lot of questions you could ask. I don't want Harbaugh down here. The trouble he had at Michigan, the victim mentality that they've played all year, trying to act like they didn't get caught doing something wrong, very wrong. The fact they're getting to play for a national title, I don't want any part of it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying Harbaugh's not a good coach, but all that drama swirling around that program, I don't want any of the residuals. I don't want any of the leftover from that. So I would say no to Harbaugh. Some other people came up with this harebrained scheme that Kirby Smart would be the next coach. Absolutely not. He is firmly ensconced at Georgia. He's already been with an NFL program. If some of you don't recall, he was with Nick Saban when he was down with the Miami Dolphins. He coached with Nick Saban a long time. I don't know that Kirby really cares about the NFL. I think he's on a mission at Georgia, and he already has with 2 back-to-back national titles, but I think he wants to leave his mark. I think he wants to surpass Vince Dooley and leave that university, whenever that may happen, as the greatest Georgia head coach of all time. He wants to leave a legacy. He's building a legacy. So that's, if you actually think that's going to happen, please put down whatever drugs you're taking. Kirby Smart is not going to be the next head coach of the Falcons. Now, one guy that I brought up last night late after I got off my live stream, and I talked to some of my relatives about it, and it was kind of just a little wrinkle. And I would have to say this is probably a dark horse, but you never know because it's clear he can run an offense. Todd Monken. Now, he's obviously got to get through a playoff run with the Ravens, but if he did have a successful playoff run, take that team along with the rest of the coaching staff, but if him and Lamar Jackson, together, that marriage produces a Super Bowl for the Ravens, could his phone ring? Now, I was talking to Matt Stewart of Matt Stewart Sports earlier today. We follow each other on Facebook, have the occasional interaction. If you don't know who Matt Stewart is, go out and look him up. Good sports guy, does a lot of local high school sports, Georgia women's basketball. He does some stuff with 11 Alive. So he's around. He knows. He's in the know. He questioned Monken's leadership abilities. I don't know. And now he has not had a lot of success as a head coach. So who knows? But that's the one thing, and even Grady Jarrett today mentioned it when they asked him what they wanted in a head coach. I want someone that is a strong vocal leader. I didn't get that sense from Arthur Smith. A lot of the games I saw and were able to pay attention to and watch, he had his face buried in that card the whole time. I want to make sure, and I don't care if he's offensive or defensive minded. I just want to make sure he has a offensive coordinator. Now, Dave Ragone was listed as the OC, but I know Arthur called a lot of the plays. I want a guy that's not going to be looking down at a play card all day, and he's everywhere. He knows everything that's going on with that team on the sidelines down to the water boy. Good, strong, vocal leader. I mentioned Belichick last night, and would he want to come here? I think I'm pretty sure he's got a place down in Florida that's close to, to where he may live down there. But I said, did he want to be this GM coach type and have full control? I don't see that one playing out. The next one that I think could very well happen, because he's been waiting patiently ever since he left KC, Eric Bieniemy. I think it's been about 5 seasons now that he's interviewed for several jobs, just hasn't got the call yet. That could be probably pretty high up on your list. That Chiefs offense has struggled since, not struggled, just not as produced and put up the kind of numbers since Bieniemy left. Raheem Morris is another name that I've seen. He was an interim here. He did a pretty fine job. I think it was when Dan Quinn left. Raheem got the call. Hey, he's a strong vocal guy, defensive guy, not offensive minded. Not saying he doesn't have offensive ideas, but he's a defense guy. Some other names I've heard: Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator in Detroit. Bobby Slowick was another one, but he's a first-year OC. So do you have an experience to make the jump from first-year OC to head coach of an NFL organization? Maybe so. Can't say for sure. Another name that's been thrown out there: Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator from Tampa Bay. Now, this is a short list. I'm sure they're going to interview probably a dozen or more candidates, or place plenty of phone calls and say, hey, are you interested in the job? We'd love to talk to you. Some of these guys are going to say no. That's just how it's going to be. So looking forward, that's going to be fun to watch. I'm going to try to, get you some little nuggets every day. Not that you guys aren't out there following, but hey, a lot of you are busy. A lot of you don't live in Atlanta anymore. And I know the big guys got their own podcasts and streaming stuff now, but maybe you can't get it out there. You can always come to YouTube and go to Believe or Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I'm all over the place there. And again, much shorter, tighter episodes, just 20, 30 minutes of information to get you started and get you a little educated. So, hey, maybe you want to learn about sports. Maybe you're not as informed as you would like to be. Hey, tune me in, get some quick facts so you can blend in with the rest of the herd at the water cooler at work or wherever you might be. And I'm just, I'm campaigning for myself, if you will, as to why you may want to watch and tune in. So, but again, and everybody goes, what happened? I told you earlier, he just didn't get the results on the field. The players will say they didn't win enough games. He built a good culture. The players liked him. They were sad to see him go. But at the end of the day, you got to win. And everybody knows all of professional sports, but more importantly, football is very much of a what have you done for me lately sport. And the answer for Arthur Smith, obviously, is just not that much. Now, shifting away from coaching, we know we need a new head coach. I guess next question you could ask is, how much of the staff does he retain? Does he retain anybody? Is he going to go out and build his own staff? Sometimes there are some leftover guys that get brought back into the new fold. We'll see what happens. But now, next question we move to, and the biggest glaring problem after head coach is a quarterback. We need a quarterback. How do we get that quarterback? Do we go, trade, open market? Who are we looking at? There's some guys that have been mentioned. Baker Mayfield was one. Now he's probably going to get comeback player of the year. Would he work out in Atlanta? I don't know. Can he maintain that kind of status of, hey, and what made him comeback player of the year? What made him not be successful in Cleveland are the things you have to ask. I mentioned Joe Flacco yesterday. I mentioned Aaron Rodgers. So there's some older vets out there. Now, Mayfield's still young, so not saying he's past his primary thing, but he's still a vet. And or do you go to the draft? Do you maybe get a journeyman to come in here and kind of bring the rookie along? And then if you do draft, who do you take? Do you take that 8 pick? And again, if you do decide you want to get a quarterback, you're going to have to maybe make a package with that 8 pick and trade up, because Drake May will be gone. Caleb Williams will be gone. I don't want Caleb Williams here, though. When he mentioned he needed to be offered partial ownership of an NFL franchise, I'm not a Caleb Williams fan. I don't think he's going to pan out. I think he's going to be a draft bust. A lot of people are saying Michael Penix. I'm not taking anything away from Michael Penix, but I reminded someone on Twitter last night, he's had 2 ACL surgeries. He's had a broken clavicle. He's had a dislocated shoulder. It seems to me he could be injury prone. I don't think we want to go down that route with Penix. Drake May, I like Drake May. Could he be the guy? Who knows? Justin Fields, a lot of people are talking about Justin Fields is probably done with the Bears. A lot of people seem to think that the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams at number one. I posed the question last night that if we can address what we need to address in the offseason before the draft, as far as a quarterback is concerned, another wide receiver, you know, pass rush, cornerback, just some other little things. If we can address those needs and we sit at number 8 and Brock Bowers is available, do you take him? Because then now you've solved that problem. Because look, Pitts can be a wide receiver, slot receiver. He can be a tight end. He's an athlete. He doesn't necessarily need to be pigeonholed as a tight end. Brock Bowers as well, too, though. But then you have London. Then you got those two bruisers at running back. You got an offensive line that's coming back and seems to be gelling. That's your offense right there, if you can find a quality quarterback before the draft. I don't know who I'd want to draft for a QB, to be honest with you. It just seems like it used to be there were I'm old enough to remember it. It just seemed like there was a quarterback or two, sometimes three in every draft that were kind of like money in the bank. You know, you could count on them being there. Quarterback position now transitioning from college to the NFL, it's not so much a safe bet anymore. You're almost gambling a little bit. So I don't know what may happen there. You know, with Justin Fields, I haven't been a fan of his attitude sometimes. I felt he's a little arrogant, you know, maybe a little bullheaded. I don't know. But maybe coming home to Atlanta and playing for the home crowd and having those tools around him and maybe a little bit better football team helps him. Because one thing I do like about Justin Fields, he's not just a running quarterback. He can throw the ball. He can sling it around. And I would like to maybe see if he comes down here like, hey, if you see the opportunity, sure, take off and run. Extend plays with your legs. But let's not try to bring this run first with the quarterback stuff in here. You got two guys behind you that can run the hell out of the ball. Let's make him a passer, a pure pocket passer. And yes, because he is young enough, agile enough, athletic enough, he can turn some plays for a loss or turn a busted play into 5, 10, 15 yards or more. You never know with him. So maybe a fresh start down here in Atlanta would be good. I'm just not sure. Now, with that being said, you know, today is January the 8th. We are just over a month away, and I cannot believe this. We're just over a month away from the Atlanta Braves being back playing baseball. I cannot believe it's already here. And for those of you that don't know me that well or don't know me at all, baseball is it for me. That is my sport. I played it as a child. I love it, love it, love it so much. Had some friends go on to the next level, even the major league level. I had a cousin that you know, played a little pro ball. That's beside the point. I can't. I can. I can tell you why. Because I have a memory of being a kid growing up. My grandmother lived out in Madison, Georgia, more specifically Bostwick, and she lived out in the country. She had a little trailer. My uncle and aunt lived in front of her in a brick home, and she had another relative up on the hill. Anyway, I have very fond memories of sitting out on her porch with a bottle of Coke with some salted peanuts in it, snapping green beans, and listening to the Atlanta Braves on the radio, Ernie Johnson to be exact, and she loved the Braves. Ken Oberkfell was one of her favorite players. She loved Glenn Hubbard. She loved the Braves so much, and those are such fond memories for me. Not to mention, I've spent countless birthdays. If the Braves typically are playing on my birthday at home, that's how I celebrate my birthday. But, you know, and again, not to get away from the Falcons or anything, but we all know what's going on. And I think I just wanted to kind of give you another little glimpse of who I am and what I like and what I'm about. And I have big expectations, not like anyone else, but I have big expectations for the Atlanta Falcons in the coming season, because I do think that the next coach, whoever that coach may be, 110% has it a little easier than Arthur Smith. And then you can ask that question too. Like, people have still asked that question. Was he a scapegoat? You know, like, who's to blame? Who can you point the finger at? He has to go. You know, he didn't have a real quarterback. Ritter was not the answer. That experiment is a failed experiment. Desmond Ritter will not be the starter next year. Neither will Taylor. Nothing, not taking anything away from those guys. They're good athletes, obviously, because they got on an NFL field. You know, you don't get on an NFL squad and playing games without being a good athlete. They just don't have the goods. They don't have what it takes to get us to the promised land, which is competing for championships again, getting into the playoffs. So, again, big expectations. I don't need a flashy hire. I just want a good, solid, quality hire, strong leader who's vocal. And I think, like I said last night, the Falcons have to re-energize this city. They got to get them excited about playing football again here in Atlanta. And let's generate some buzz. I said new. So that's what we got to look forward to. And again, we got to look forward to another exciting season of Atlanta Braves baseball. That's kind of where I'm going to be going with some of my episodes. And actually, another reason I came on tonight, obviously, because Arthur was fired, but I've been told by my fine friends at Believe Entertainment that I can turn these live shows into podcasts. I thought I needed my little console that I'm getting. So we're going to try that tonight and get you one out to listen to in the morning if you didn't hear this one tonight. But, man, I'm going to hold off on the Braves talk. I've got some things. I asked the question the other night, do you think the Braves should limit how much baseball Ronald Acuna plays? Because the guy plays year-round. He's an animal. That's why they call him La Bestia. And, my first question is, can he put up the same numbers like he did last year? Can he have a repeat performance and take home a back-to-back MVP? I know it's happened, but I can't remember the last time anyone took home a back-to-back MVP. It hadn't happened in a long time. I'd love to see it. We can talk LA Dodgers, and we got our good friend Freddie Freeman out there. I'm going to try to get a good friend of mine from LA on out there. He's an Atlanta fan, though. He knows where his bread is buttered, but he lives out in LA, been out there a long time. Really good friend of mine, my best friend, my brother. He's a Dodger. He's out there in Dodger country, but Braves fan, so it might be fun to have him on. And one thing I can say is, the LA Dodgers want that World Series so bad they threw money at the problem. That is not the answer, especially not in baseball, unless you're the Florida Marlins. And then, throwing money at the problem might work pretty well. And it did work pretty well from them. They won 2 World Series and they had fire sales. But just because you have the highest payroll in baseball and you got a bunch of great talent doesn't equate to winning championships. We saw that with the Mets last year. They suffered injuries and they just could not put it together and win. And when you have that much high-priced talent, that many personalities under one roof in a clubhouse, it's dicey as to how it might go. You never know how those guys are going to interact with one another, how their chemistry is going to be. So that'll be interesting to follow, but it's going to be a battle. Know that for sure. The Dodgers are going to be good. The Braves are going to be good. Those scrappy Phillies. We opened up the season with them. I cannot wait. For that series. That's going to be a big one. But, like I said, in the spirit of trying to make these things a little shorter, a little tighter, we're going to run. But, if you follow the channel, thank you. If you just happen upon me, please please subscribe. Again, interact with me. Send me some emails. I've been doing this now in a couple of different forms. I started out on my own with a couple of old friends doing a podcast in my basement. Then Believe reached out and I did a Falcons Flight podcast. Strangely enough, with all people, the former Braves producer, Brian Giffen. That's another fairy tale story for another time. That one didn't work out so well. And then came this one. And every time I've always said, hey, guys, I want to hear from you. I promise you, I want to hear what's going on with Atlanta. I want to know what you're feeling. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to get some dialogue going. Like I said, I'm going to get a Google number so you guys can dial in eventually as we build, because right now I think I've had 4 people listen live, but that's okay. Humble beginnings. We kind of burned down the Believe Atlanta Sports building, and now there's nothing left but a foundation, a shaky one at that, and some ashes. But we're going to build it up stronger, bigger, better than ever, and you're going to help. You're absolutely 110% going to help, because like I said, this show's for you. I love doing this, but I also love getting out there and kind of mixing it up with people and kind of getting, out in the wild just to see what everybody thinks and what everybody's feeling. And I want to interact. I want to engage. I want to have some talks, because at the end of the day, this show's going to be more kind of off the cuff. I do have some notes here off to the side. I kind of, make a little structure as to how I want the show to go, or the live stream to go. But I really do want to know what you guys want to talk about. I want to know how you're feeling. I want to know what you're thinking, because like I said, it's tough to be an Atlanta sports fan. It is really tough sometimes, but the tough is what makes the winning good. And I can assure you the Falcons are going to be back on top. I know they're going to make the right choices. We got a great core of young players. We just got to find that thing to bring it all together in the form of a head coach and a great QB on the field. Doesn't even necessarily have to be a great QB, maybe just a field general, just a game manager, but somebody that can manage that team efficiently and get some points on the board. Getting after the quarterback, obviously, we need that. We need that big time. I'd like to see us improve on third downs. We struggled on that this year. But again, we've got a long year ahead of us, depending on how you look at it. We're going to blink and it's going to be time to talk about Falcons, summer camp and all that fun things. But again, folks, just dropping in to say hello. And we're just going to keep getting better and better. We're going to keep improving. The studio will be ready shortly. And then after that, guys, we're going to be coming at you about 3 nights a week, just a little short live stream. And then those are going to be for podcasts. If you don't catch it, and you can watch it the next day. And I look forward to seeing all you guys out at some games. If you see me, stop, shake my hand, say hello. I'll say hello to you. We'll take a picture. We'll talk some Atlanta sports. We'll have a cold beverage. But other than that, Atlanta, I love you. I need you. Believe in Atlanta Sports loves you. We need you. Until next time, guys, you take care and you be good out there, okay? Good night.